Hi, you're right. This video is about my Nikon Z8, how I do video recording without overheat problem using a CFB adapter to M2 NVMe rather than using native CFB card. And also, as a summary, I also use external adapter like that, so I could actually fit a longer SSD using an adapter which on my camera is like open door. That's the idea, is to let it cool down much more rapidly when you do long-term video like 1 hour 8K. So let me explain this step by step. When you do video on the Z8, which I test with 8K in particular, when you do a long video recording like about 15-20 minutes, it will start overheating, meaning the sensor itself will feel that it's too high a temperature. The heat mainly comes from the compartment where this thing heats up inside, and it really just depends on the metal body, the camera body, to dissipate the heat. So on this part, the heat comes out, and then the battery also, and the circuit board is at the bottom, and that also heats up. So basically, the screen itself at the back is a heat source where you don't want to entirely cover it up, and so on. So, but the main thing still comes from the CFB. So what I did was, when I tested, I used this adapter, which is basically like there's no electronic circuit in it. You can get this adapter from on the right hand side. Any of these, I actually stocked with these are once-off type, which is cheap. It works, but it is one-off, meaning I can take out my SSD inside, and that means, yeah, it's a waste if it's, for some reason, I need to take it out. So I switched to using those with little tiny screws like that. There are little tiny screws here, unless it's particularly thick, but so far it's all right. So when you buy any of these, just to make sure that they are not like being too tight when you take it out. This one seems fine for me. I haven't tried this Z8, which I heard a lot of people are using it also, so that should be fine. And then what's inside is a 2230 is the length of this kind of size of this kind of SSD, which is an NVMe PCIe M.2, and is the one I use is 1 terabyte, and is a PCIe 4.0. I would buy PCIe 4.0 rather than PCIe 3, even though CFB, this is version 2, I guess, for Z8, it's only PCIe 3. Max, I think it's doing like around 100 something megabyte per second for 8K and raw. So it's not a big deal. I mean, these things could actually sustain a very high rate, like 5 gigabit per second, so on. But the main thing is there are different types of parameter here. Some are giving you the speed, which is like a burst speed, like a cached speed. And in terms of video, we need a sustained ride, meaning you're doing, say, an hour 8K video, we keep on pumping that much bandwidth on it. So this card, those cards that are out there which are selling quite expensive, are all because they are tuned to do this sustained ride. So for this reason, I actually shop for different type of SSD. and test it. Obviously I cannot test all of them, so given my limited budget, I did test this one. Seems working for me with my test. The other one, the longer one, is also okay. So I'm using these two. If you got other brands and things like those that would work for you, that I'm happy to hear from you. Now, what I did with that is, in terms of the smaller size, you could make 8K and more shots, like I think, remember, it's like 20 minutes would be fine, but you don't really take footage of that long most of the time, so I barely feel a problem with that thing in terms of closing the door and everything like that. But when it comes down to like an hour video, like a documentary, like an interview, when I need to do it non-stop, then I need to do this. What it does is this thing here is an empty Y-by-Y kind of connection. A CFB basically has no electronic circuit in terms of interfacing to NVMe. So your NVMe is here, which is straight Y-by-Y. So this thing is fine, and the specification, it could be much longer than that, so that's perfect. Absolutely no problem at all. It's quite rigid also. It's not expensive, so you could buy this and plug it in, and the Z8 is good that even the door is open, it will still work. It does just function as normal. So what I did for the tough test is to use PD or external power supply for the camera, so your battery wouldn't be overheat also. And that this one, with that coming out, I put a 2280 kind of SSD. You could put a 2230, it's fine, but then the reason I do this, I bought this, is because it's cheaper. So the longer one is cheaper, the shorter one is always more expensive. I don't know why. Now the longer one, these things could be used on PC, on my desktop, so I basically have both advantages of I don't really need a CFB adapter at all. I just take it out from here and then plug it into my PC, and it just basically do my work from there. So it is both sides, it's win-win, and I also save money on buying those native high-speed expensive CFB. So with that, you could cool, this thing is outside, so it's not heating up the camera, and this thing doesn't have much heat at all. There's nothing in there, just wire. So that solved the battery and the heating problem from these two heat sources. The rest is just the circuit board. So the circuit board itself, and then the front also has some heat, I figured out, because this whole metal case is trying to help dissipate heat. And then this side here, you could just take it out here, just don't block the metal. So when it depends on your environment, if your shooting environment is still even with all this, is still like warm or hot, you could use a little USB fan, quiet one, and blow it, and then you could easily do an hour. My 1 terabyte could do an hour 8K and raw shooting, no problem. Tested a few times already, and anything other than that is perhaps much too long for me, but it's up to you. So yeah, once you have this cooling done, this whole thing is just like a working machine for video. Of course, you would need cage and anything like that to secure it. So you need to like this thing hanging around and all this wire. So you have your own way to secure it. The other thing I also tried is to use a heatsink on the SSD itself. So basically like that. That's even much better. Really depends if you have a very hot environment shooting, This thing helps a lot. It's very cheap. So, and I have a bigger one also. So yeah. Again, for me, these things, why I wouldn't use a a native CFB is because with this NVMe thing, I could easily use it by taking it out for in my PC and desktop, and I could use a USB-C kind of adapter for the M2 NVMe also. So that is, to me, a universal standard rather than having to use CFB just for the camera and things like those. So it's a lot more, to me, it's a lot more better in terms of return on investment, and a lot easier to move that around instead of transferring files. So I unplug that and plug into my PC or that laptop, and I could do processing in place rather than copying around, and so on. So, and I could even, of course, I could get much faster PCIe 4 lanes NVMe with even with that is still much cheaper than the CFB, which is only PCIe NVMe PCIe 3 maybe 2 lanes. So yeah. So I hope that explains, and of course, as to whether or not you like the solution or you feel comfortable with it is up to you. I'm just sharing my experience, and it might not be, if you don't feel comfortable with your equipment on that, then entirely you have to judge it yourself whether or not you want to do that. Some people will say that you're not using a proper CFB card, it would hurt your camera, expensive camera, and why not, spend money on, so on and so forth. So it's up to your own decision. As I said, what I'm telling you is my own risk and my own findings for my own sake. So it might not work for you. Up to you to decide. You could research a bit and share with us also, and see in the comment sections, and see if you have any good findings of SSD that they could do a better something right, and so on. Hope that helps. Cheers, bye.